Guys, and welcome to our next episode of Snap. And so today we're going to be learning how to add some different animations to our sprite. And we're also going to be learning how to add a scrolling background. And so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at what we have done. This is from the previous episode. And so we have our direction arrows, we have our location and our size for our sprites. We also have an animation here for the dragon. And then we have a stage, and the stage is just the standard Night City background. And so what we're going to do, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a scrolling background. And so the way that we're going to do this, guys, is that when you go to background here and when you go to scripts, you're going to see that when we go up to the motion tab, there is no motion for a background. And so the stage icon is not possible. It's not possible to add a scrolling background where the stage icon is. So that means we need to make it into a sprite, and then we need to animate that sprite. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to add a new sprite. And so we're going to click on this sprite right here. And what we're going to do is go to the costumes area, and we're going to add the background that we have here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a picture of this right here, and we're going to drag it onto our sprite right here, okay? And so what that does is it adds the background on top of the sprite right here, okay? And what we can do is we can look at this and we can say, okay, we're going to center this background right here, this sprite in the center right here, okay? And then we're going to go back over to our stage. We're going to right click on our background that's currently here, and we're going to hit delete, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to delete the background image, which we want, because we want the stage to be set based on this new sprite that we just created. Okay, so we're going to center that. And just so you know, if you ever want to see the sprite, all you have to do is right click on here and hit show, and then it will pop to the front. Okay, and so what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on this sprite, and we are going to go over here to where it says the name right here. So we're going to click on it here with the left click button. We're going to go to the name. We're going to name this dragon. So that way we now have our first sprite labeled. And now we're going to go here on the sprite 2, and we're going to name that as background. Okay. Okay, so now we have our background, right? And so now when we come over here to the script area of our background, not the stage, the background, okay, you can see that we have movement here, okay, and that's what we want. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start putting our script in for our background. So the first thing that we want to do is go to control, and we're going to have our when the green arrow is clicked. That's what we're always going to be starting with. And what this is going to do is when we start the game, it's going to start scrolling our background. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a clone. Okay. Because what we're going to do is we're going to clone this background. So we're going to have 2 of them, and they're going to be repeating over each other, right? So we're looking for create a clone. So we're going to scroll down here, and we're looking for create a clone of myself right here. This box right here. We're going to bring this up, click it in. Okay. Next thing that we have to do is we have to set our coordinates. And so remember, with our coordinates, just think of this as an X, right? As X and Y axis. And so we have our X axis and we have our Y axis. And so remember, this is all positive here, right? This would be positive on this axis, and it would be negative on this axis. This would be negative, negative, and this would be positive, negative, right? And so the next thing we're going to do is go over to our motion, and we're going to go to X and Y. We're going to leave it at 0, 0. So what 0, 0 is exactly in the center of the screen, okay? Next thing we need is for our control button, we need a forever block. And so we're going to be looking for a forever block, which is going to be right here. And so what this is going to do is when this green arrow or green flag is clicked, it's whatever's inside this forever block is going to continue forever until we stop, okay? And so now we need some variables here. So let's go up to, well, we're going to stay in control and we're going to do if blocks, right? So we're going to look for if else. Let's go to this block right here and we can try this. And so remember guys, this is one way of doing a scrolling background. You can look up other ways, but this is the way that I found works the best without having the chance of having a break in the background. Okay, so we're going to go if, and next thing we need is some operators here. And so we're looking for a greater than and less than. So we're going to use this symbol right here. And so what we're going to be doing is setting our X position, and we're going to be setting a coordinate on that X position. So we're going to say if, and then we're going to go over here to, I think it's in motion. Yep, X position. So if X position, we're going to put it in the first block right here. If X position is greater than, and we want to go negative, so this is 240 on this side, 240 on this side. So if it's, we're going to say negative 340 just to make sure, right? So negative 340, because we want it to be greater than the edge of the screen. Okay, so if the X position is greater than negative 340, then we're going to change, let's look, we're changing X. So we're going to change X by, let's do this right here. And we're going to go -2. And so what this is going to set is the speed that this will scroll, okay? And you'll see once we start, we'll change this a few times just to show you the speed of how this is going to scroll. And so what this is saying is if X position is greater than -340, meaning that if it's greater than the side of the screen right here, it's going to change it by -2. And so what that's going to do is start moving that screen forward -2. Else, so now we have to set our X and our Y. So we're going to go to X and Y. This is all logic, guys. So X and Y. And so since we set this at -340, I'm going to set this one at 3. So normally you could set it at 340 itself, but I'm going to set it at 345 just to make sure because I don't want any overlap. And I'm going to keep the Y-axis at 0. So we're setting the X-axis right now, and then we will worry about the Y-axis, okay? Okay, so now we have our X-axis, because the reason why we're going with X-axis, guys, is that we want our scroll to move this direction, okay? We don't want our scroll to move this direction, so if you're doing a race car game and you're going from top to bottom, then you would want to scroll on the Y-axis, but because we're wanting just to scroll from left to right, we're going to stay on our X-axis, so Y is going to remain as 0. So now, this is the first part, right? So when I hit start now, right, it's going to start moving, but you can see there's going to be some white right there, right? It's going to move some white over. So you can see how it moved over right here. Okay, so you can see how it moved over right here. And so what we want to do now is now we're going to create a clone of ourselves. Okay, and so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to be creating a clone, right? And that clone is going to move this background, creating a clone to fill up that white area, and so that way it's scrolling on top of itself. And so what we're going to do is go over to Control, and we're going to put when I start as a clone, okay? And then we're going to be doing our X and Y. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to copy this whole area right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off real quick. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to hit duplicate. That's going to duplicate everything that I have that I've already set. Okay. And we just have to change. Let's see. Let me see if I have to change it. Nope, it's the same thing. So now when I hit the start button, it should scroll.
1 hour later.
Okay, so I figured it out. So you see how this is moving right here? And so it starts at we're doing 345 over here. And so what we want to do now is when we start as a clone, right? So we started at negative 340, go to 345. So on the clone, we want to start it at 345, negative 340, 345. And now when I hit start, it should work. There we go. Okay, and so now we have our scrolling background, which looks good. And so remember when I talked about the speed, so you can see the speed right now is at -2. And so if we change our speed to -3 on both sides, and we hit play, it's going to move a little bit faster. Okay. And so when you can see that our scrolling background is now scrolling, and it may be a little laggy because of the internet. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our dragon. We're going to right click on our dragon and hit show. Because now our dragon is on the front, right? So it looks like he's flying through the cityscape. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to animate our dragon, right? So remember our animation, it was based off of, I'm going to go over here to the dragon. We're going to hit the script on the dragon. It was based on the space bar, right? And so his animation was just him flying through the air shooting fire. And so what we want to do is we want to change that to where he's flying through the air, right? But it's not shooting fire until he shoots a fireball. Okay. And so we're going to hit stop here. We're going to go back over here. It's okay that if there's a little blank right here, that's the animation. So when you hit start again, it's going to just do that back to where it's going to go, right? And so now what we're going to do is we're going to hit stop, and we're coming back over here to our script for our dragon. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at how can we change this costume up a little bit to where when he shoots fire, right, he changes his costume. Okay. And so we're looking at our left arrows, our right arrows. We're going to keep all that the same. What we're going to change here is the costume change, right? And so we're going to change this to, we'll keep it as the space button, but then we're going to go for forever. And we're going to wait 2 seconds, and then we're going to add a new costume, right? So we're going to come back over here. Now you see how this is Dragon A, Dragon B. So we're going to duplicate Dragon B. We're going to change that name to Dragon 1C. So we're going to take that over, change it to Dragon 1C. Okay. And in today's folder, I did add a Dragon 1C pick for you. It's going to be this dragon looking like this, but without the fire. And so what I want you to do is I want you to drag that over, and you can see how it's dragged right now. So it's a PNG file. You're going to drag it and put it on top of 1C, and then delete this one right here. Okay. And so we're going to rename. We'll just call this one C. Okay. And so now we have our Dragon 1A, our Dragon 1B, and our Dragon 1C. Okay, and so the animation that we're going to have our flying is going to be these two dragons, 1C and 1A. And then our dragon for our fire is going to be B. So this will make more sense once we go back. So now we have C, right? And so now we're going to go back over and we're going to look in our looks. This is the first time we've looked in looks. And so this is where you change your costumes. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're looking for a switch to costume. We're going to keep this one out here right here. And so instead of going to next costume, we're going to take this off. We're going to delete it, just putting it back into our variables. Now we're going to take this and put it into, so when I press the space button, we're going to wait 2 seconds. We're going to switch to Dragon 1C. And then we're going to duplicate, we're going to take this out real quick. We're going to just duplicate everything. put it back in. Then we're going to wait another 2 seconds. And now we're going to change it to Dragon 1A. And so now when we press the space button, it should look like this. And you can see right here how looks like he's flying now, right? So his wings are not moving, but at least he's moving his legs. And so this is all about the animation. So if we wanted to spend the time to make him look a little bit better, we could, but this will serve the purpose, okay? And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna talk about how to code the fireball, okay? So before we code the fireball, we wanna just make sure that we go up to our save icon, hit save, so that way it's saved, okay?